What's up? We got The Flash, Season 1, Episode 20, The Trap. So this episode starts off with the gang going into the Wells' secret room and seeing his Reverse Flash suit. So they see the banner, Flash Missing Vanishing in Crisis, and it's like the Flash Scarlet, after a battle with the Reverse Flash, the Scarlet Speedster just vanishes into a ball of dust or white light. So then he reads so then he's like, look at the headline, 2024. But then she's like, look at the byline, Iris West Allen. Yeah, Barry and Iris do get together. So at CCJ, and he's like, Joe, will you give his permission to give his blessing to marry Iris? And Joe's like, hold up, bro, I'm not doing any of that. Bye. And then he says, hey, Barry, Joe won't give his permission to marry Iris. So will you ask him? And Barry's like, okay. He never does this, by the way. He never does this. He never does this, by the way. So... So yeah, so then they go into this. So back with the time, I forgot to mention that Gideon is Barry. Barry is in the future. Barry is the governor of police. That means or director. He's director chief of police, and he also created Gideon. So yeah, so Iris, Eddie. Eddie, Caitlin, Barry, Joe, and Cisco all are hanging out together, and Barry mentioned that time that he ran back in time. That he's gonna run back in time when in the future Barry's gonna run back in time to when his mom died. But Barry's actually talking about when he ran back in time to stop a tsunami, which him by stopping Martin caused the events of Cisco revealing Eobard's secret to never happen. But for some reason, Cisco remembers the events of how it happened, even though that timeline was erased from existence. So why does he remember? Does he only remember because they wanted them to find out about Eobard's, who he really was? Was that the only reason why they had him remember everything? Was because so he can remember it, so they could discover that he's not really Reverse Flash. And now they have to act cooler on him, since now they know that their boss isn't really their boss, and he killed the actual Harrison Wells. How was the Reverse Harrison? There should actually be a Reverse Harrison. Yeah, but anyway, so they try to pretend everything's normal, and they try to say about how when some people are dealing with many humans, they could be dealing with like side effects of that. So yeah, so they put Cisco in the dream, and they learn everything about Nora, about how he wanted to kill Barry, not Nora, and about how he wanted to kill Barry and not Nora, and about how, and he's like, his name is Eobard. Even though this is a little different, the Cisco dream's a little different here, because in the original timeline, when he says when he says that they tricked him and Eobard thought messed with the projection because the capacitors were still up. Even that's why the hologram was able to beat up Wells, because of beat up Eobard Wells, because Eobard Wells was able to mess with the capacitors and make it look like he was just getting beaten up by a hologram, which is confusing. So yeah, so even though Reverse Flash says he's not like the Flash at all, someone say he's the Reverse, and then he says hi Cisco, even though he says the exact same thing that the hologram says in the actual timeline. They can't change it to that he says hi Cisco, which kind of doesn't make any sense. That's the confusing part of this episode. That doesn't make any sense. So yeah, so then he's gonna kill him, but then as he does, they know everything now. Eobard Thawne is Eobard Thawne. Yeah. So what happens is that Wells is like, hey, I'm gonna call him Eobard Thawne. Well, Eobard Thawne Wells is like, hey Barry, where are you? And he's like, there's a fire going on down. And there's a fire, and he's like, where is it? And he's like, and Joe's like, that's where Sing's fiance works. So Barry goes down, can't control the fire until Eobard Thawne Wells tells him to put his hand to like a hurricane, which stops the fire. And he's like, hey Barry, we're good friends. And this causes Barry to be like, maybe sometimes Eobard Thawne Wells makes you think that he's your friend. And he's like, Barry, this is all his fault. If he hadn't have taken, he knew there was something up with Eobard Thawne Wells, but he knew there was something up, but he let him take him. And Barry's like, if he hadn't let him take him, Barry would have died. Yeah, but he knew there was something up with that guy. So yeah. So then what happens is that they decide to recreate, the scene where, so there's a lot of flashbacks to Barry's time in the coma, and Iris touches Barry, and a little spark of lightning jolts into her finger, and this comes later, so this is why I'm mentioning it. So they decide, so Harrison Wells, Eobard Thawne Wells, saying does not do the thing that it does, and he's able to walk through the contraption that they made, but here's the thing, so it's not supposed to work on speedsters, but they don't, for some reason, don't realize this, and when Wells shoots, when Joe shoots Eobard Thawne Wells, he dies, but Barry can't catch the gun because Speed Force because contraption knocks him back. And he turns into Hannibal Bates. Remember him? And he dies. So he's like, let me introduce you guys to Mr. Hannibal Bates, a guy who can turn into anything and he touches. And he let him out on the promise of his freedom. So Barry's like, you ruined his life, all of their lives. And Caitlin's like, we stood by you after everything that happened. And Joe's like, we know you're not the real Harrison Wells. Just tell us who you are. And he's like, trust me, guys. And he's like, Barry, we will. Barry's like, and he's like, I don't want to kill you, Barry. I need you. And he's like, face me out. So he's like, not yet. So then he just gets out of there, and he's about to propose to Iris when the Reverse Flash shows up, says, bad time, detective, and steals him. And she's like, Eddie, and the Flash is like, hold up, Iris, stay right here. And she's like, and then when she touches the Flash, that same blue jolt of lightning enters her, and that's when she puts the pieces together. And she's like, Barry. And now Iris is, and she's like, Barry? And now she knows Barry's secret now. So I guess she didn't have to review. I guess all it took was a touch of the Flash's hand, or like when he was speeding away to reveal his secret. So Eddie's like, Wells, I know who you are. You don't have to wear that hood anymore, that mask anymore. And he's like, his name is Eobard Thawne. And he's like, why do you have his name? He's like, hold up, we got family Eddie. And he's like, I haven't seen you at any pictures or weddings or anything. And he's like, because where those guest ones are concerned, he hasn't been born yet. Boom. So he hasn't been born yet. So that's where the episode kind of ends. Am I forgetting anything? No, I don't think And yeah. So I still know it's Barry's identity, which is cool because Barry was trying to keep it from her all season. But I guess it took a touch of the lightning, a spark of lightning up her finger to a spark of lightning to make her put the pieces together. What will she do? Will she reveal it to Barry? Will Barry reveal it? Will she reveal it to Barry? What will Barry do? What will he say? What will happen? I don't know. I gotta say it. I don't know what's gonna happen. But that was it for The Flash. Season 1, Episode 20. And I'll see you next time from The Flash.